If you've ever used a Samsung phone, you've absolutely seen this little icon sitting on your home screen, probably right next to the much more familiar Google Play Store. Yep, it's the Galaxy Store. And if you're like most of us, you've probably glanced at it and wondered, why is this thing even here, right? Why do I need two separate places to get my apps? Is one better than the other? What's the deal? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and really unpack the strategy behind Samsung's other app store. So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll figure out what the store actually is. Then, we'll take a trip down memory lane and trace its surprisingly long history. After that, we'll dive into the exclusive stuff inside the Galaxy ecosystem, see how Samsung keeps developers happy, and finally, put it all together to see why they've built this curated digital garden. Let's jump in. All right, first things first, let's get a clear definition of what the Galaxy Store actually is and what its role is in a world that feels totally dominated by Google. You know, in simple terms, the Galaxy Store is Samsung's very own digital storefront. It comes pre-installed on their Galaxy phones, their tablets, even their watches. It's basically a special space for apps, games, and all sorts of customizations that are tailor-made for Samsung hardware. The only catch? You do need a Samsung account to get in. Now let's talk history, because this store has been around a whole lot longer than you might think. And as you'll see, it's a store that's had a few identity crises over the years. It all started way back in 2009. It was called Samsung Apps, and it wasn't even for Android at first. It was for older platforms like Symbian. Then, in 2011, it made the jump to Android. By 2014, Samsung decided to rebrand it to Galaxy Apps, which makes sense, right, to connect it with their flagship phones. Then, in 2019, it finally became the Galaxy Store we know today. And just a year later, it got another big redesign, this time with a huge focus on the gaming community. And get this, the growth was just explosive. By 2011, only 2 years after it launched, it already had 40,000 apps. Now that just goes to show you, from the very beginning, Samsung was playing the long game. This was never just a little side project for them. So we know its history, but what's actually in the store today that makes it any different? Well, this is where we get into the Galaxy ecosystem, because it's about way more than just apps. It's a home for some really cool exclusive tools and content. Okay, a huge part of the strategy is this. The Galaxy Store is the only place you can get some of Samsung's most powerful software. I'm talking about game changers like Good Lock for seriously deep customization, Samsung Wallet, and even the Expert RAW app for pro-level photography. You won't find any of these on the Google Play Store. But it's not just about Samsung's own apps. The store has also been a really strategic launchpad for major exclusives from other companies, including one of the biggest video games in the world. That's right, Fortnite. For a while there, when it first came out on Android, the Galaxy Store was the only official place you could download it. I mean, that was a massive get that brought millions of people to the platform. It was Samsung flexing its ecosystem muscle for the whole world to see. The whole strategy becomes crystal clear when you just look at the numbers. A whopping 45% of the store is dedicated to games. Another 25% is for customization, themes, icons, that kind of thing. This shows it's not trying to be a clone of the Play Store. It's aiming to be a special hangout for gamers and people who love to personalize their devices. Of course, an app store is nothing without its developers, right? So how does Samsung convince them to build for its platform instead of just focusing on Google Play? Well, one key way is by rewarding them. Since back in 2018, Samsung has been running the annual Best of Galaxy Store Awards. And this isn't just about handing out some trophies. It's a really smart move to build a community and to send a clear message to developers that if you build cool stuff for our platform, we're going to notice and we're going to promote you. And if you look at the winning apps, you see some real diversity. You have huge names like Booking.com, but then you also have these awesome indie innovators like Wrist Camera for the Galaxy Watch, specialized theme designers, and of course, big-time games. It really highlights the wide range of content Samsung is trying to attract. Okay, let's tie this all together and finally answer that big question, why does this store even need to exist? Well, it all comes down to this idea of creating a curated digital garden to carve out a special place for itself in a world of giants. So why go through all this trouble? Well, first, they can offer a hand-picked, curated selection of apps instead of just the fire hose of everything you get on other stores. Second, they can make sure these apps are deeply integrated with their own hardware. And third, they create this unique ecosystem of exclusives.
Ultimately, this gives Samsung way more control over the user experience. It builds brand loyalty, and it doesn't hurt that it gives them valuable data on how we all use our devices.
Maybe the best way to think about the difference is with an analogy. The Google Play Store is like a giant supermarket. It has literally everything for every kind of Android device out there. The Galaxy Store, on the other hand, is more like a specialty boutique. It's a curated experience, optimized just for its own customers, and everything inside is fully integrated into the Samsung world. And that brings us to a final, really interesting question. As we look at the future of how we get our software, which model do you think is going to win out? Is it going to be this single giant marketplace that serves everyone? Or are we going to see more of these specialized, highly curated gardens built around specific brands and ecosystems? It's definitely something to think about the next time you tap on that little icon.